Good evening and welcome to our daily devotional reading. For those just dropping in, we are reading through the collected work of Plato, at least some of them. For those who are members of our imaginary or make-believe monastery, welcome. A special welcome. That will be the people who are subscribed and or commenting. I hope you're not putting too much faith in the monastery, though, or in its priestess, because she is very fallible. She is twice initiated, at least for what it's worth. And doing this with the hope of becoming thrice initiated. That being said, that has become quite my phrase, hasn't it? I hope you had a good Sunday. I'm a bit lost with time. I have a few days off. So I lost track a bit. Let's listen to Plato. We're in the Cratylus. Hermogenes. Then I rather think that I am of one mind with you. But what is the meaning of the word hero? It explains here hero with a eta. So in the Greek, the H is basically just like a reverted comma over the either rho, the R, or not a consonant, the other one. A, E, I, U, those things, vowels, right? So it's eros, hero is eros, with basically without the S, of course, as well. Socrates. I think that there is no difficulty explaining, for the name is not much altered and signifies that they have been born of love, eros. Hermogenes. What do you mean? Socrates. Do you not know that the heroes are demigods? Hermogenes. What then? Or the other translation says, so what of it? Socrates. All of them sprang either from the love of a god for a mortal woman, or of the mortal man for a goddess. Think of the word in the old Attic, and you will see better that the name heros is only a slight alteration of eros, from whom the heroes sprang. Either this is the meaning, or if not this, then they must have been skillful as rhetoricians and dialecticians, and able to put the question erotan, or for erein, is equivalent to legein. Legein is saying. And therefore, as I was saying, in the Attic dialect, the heroes turn out to be rhetoricians and questioners. All this is easy enough. The noble breed of heroes are a tribe of sophists and rhetors. But can you tell me why men are called anthropoi, humanity, anthropos, or anthropoi is the plural of anthropos, man or human being? That is difficult. Hermogenes, no, I cannot. And I would not even try if I could, because I think that you are the more likely to succeed. Socrates. That is to say, you trust to the inspiration of Euthyro. Hermogenes, of course. Socrates, your faith is not vain, for at this very moment a new and ingenious thought strikes me, and if I am not careful, before tomorrow's dawn I shall be wiser than I ought to be. Now attend to me, and first remember that we often put in and pull out letters in words, and give names as we please and change the accents. Take, for example, the word diephilos, in order to convert this from a sentence into a noun. Vowels is the other thing. I don't know what I said. We omit one of the iotas, the I's, and sound the middle syllable grave, so like this, the accent sign that shows this, which shows going down an accent or lowering your voice. And the acute going up in your voice. As on the other hand, letters are sometimes inserted in words instead of being omitted. And the acute takes the place of a grave. Hermogenes, that is true. Socrates, the name anthropos, which was once a sentence and is now a noun, appears to be the case just of this sort. For one letter, which is the alpha, the A, of course, has been omitted, and the acute of the last syllable has been changed to a grave. Hermogenes, what do you mean? Socrates, I don't know why I made his question acute. Socrates, I mean to say that the word man, anthropos, implies that other animals never examine or consider or look up at what they see, but that man not only sees, opope, but considers and looks up at that which he sees, and hence he alone of all animals is rightly anthropos, meaning anathron or opopen. Hermogenes, may I ask you to examine another word about which I am curious? Certainly. Hermogenes, I will take that which appears to me to follow next in order. You know the distinction of soul and body. Socrates, of course. Hermogenes, let us endeavor to analyze them like the previous words. Endeavor, I suppose. Socrates, you want me first of all to examine the natural fitness of the word psyche, soul, and then the word soma, body. Hermogenes, yes. Socrates, if I am to say what occurs to me at the moment, I should imagine that those who first used the name psyche meant to express that the soul, when in the body, is the source of life and gives the power of breath and revival, anasuchon. And when this reviving power fails, then the body perishes and dies. And this, if I am not mistaken, they call psyche. But please stay a moment. I fancy that I can discover something which will be more acceptable to the disciples of Euthyro, for I am afraid that they will scorn this explanation. What do you say to another? Let me hear. I'm singing in my head. What is that which holds and carries and gives life and notion to the entire nature of the body? What else but the soul? Hermogenes. Just that. Socrates. And do you not believe with Anaxagoras that mind, I should learn this pronunciation, that mind or soul is the ordering and containing principle of all things? That mind or soul is the ordering and containing principle of all things. Mind probably nous and soul suche. Yes, I do. Mind could... Socrates, then you may well call that power suseche, which carries and holds nature, a thusen oge gai ege. And this may be refined away into suche. Hermogenes, certainly, and this derivation is, I think, more scientific than the other. Socrates, it is so, but I cannot help laughing if I am to suppose that this was the true meaning of the name. But what shall we say of the next word? You mean soma, the body. Yes. That may be variously interpreted, and yet more variously if a little permutation is allowed. For some say that the body is the grave, sema, of the soul, which may be thought to be buried in our present life. Or again, the index of the soul, because the soul gives indications to, say, my name, the body. Or again, the index of the soul, because the soul gives indications to the body. Why not the body to the soul? That's me. Probably the Orphic poets were the inventors of the name, and they were under the impression that the soul is suffering the punishment of sin, and that the body is an enclosure or prison in which the soul is incarcerated, kept safe, soma sozetai, as the name soma implies, until the penalty is paid. According to this view, not even a letter of the word need be changed. I think, Socrates, that we have said enough of this class of words. But have we any more explanations of the name of the gods? Like that which you were giving to Zeus, I should like to know whether any similar principle of correctness is to apply to them. Socrates, yes, indeed, Hermogenes. And there is one excellent principle which, as men of sense, we must acknowledge. That of the gods we know nothing, neither of their natures or of the names which they give themselves. But we are sure that the names by which they call themselves, whatever they may be, are true, And this is the best of all principles. And the next best is to say, as in prayers, that we will call them by any sort or kind of names or patronymics which they like, because we do not know of any other. That also, I think, is a very good custom, and one which I should much wish to observe. Let us then, if you please, in the first place, announce to them that we are not inquiring about them. We do not presume that we are able to do so, but we are inquiring about the meaning of men in giving them these names. In this there can be small blame. Take my body. Hermogenes. I think, Socrates, that you are quite right, and I would like to do as you say. Shall we begin then with Hestia, according to custom? She was the first goddess to be called upon in sacrifices and prayer. Hermogenes, yes, that will be very proper. The first of the gods, I should say. Not only the goddesses. Hermogenes, that would be proper. Socrates, what may we suppose him to have meant who gave the name Hestia? Hermogenes, that is another and certainly a most difficult question. Socrates, my dear Hermogenes, the first imposer of names must surely have been considerable people. They were philosophers and had a good deal to say. Hermogenes, well, and what of them? Socrates, they are the men to whom I should attribute the imposition of names. Even in foreign names, if you analyze them, a meaning is still discernible. For example, that which we term ousia, being, is by some called esia, being, and by others again osia. Now the essence of things should be called estia, which is akin to the first of these. Esia equals estia, is rational enough. And there is reason in the Athenians calling that estia which participate in ousia. Remember, the H is just like a little mark upon the first letter. So estia is easily just Hestia. For in ancient times we too seem to have said esia for ousia, and this you may know to have been the idea of those who appointed that sacrifices should be first offered to Hestia, which was natural enough if they meant that Estia, being, was the essence of things. Those again who read Osia seem to have inclined to the opinion of Heraclitus that all things flow and nothing stands. With them the pushing principle of Othun is the cause and ruling power of all things, and is therefore rightly called Osia. Enough of this, which is all that we who know nothing can affirm. Next in order after Hestia, we ought to consider Rhea and Kronos. Although the name Kronos has been already discussed, but I dare say that I am talking great nonsense. Hermogenes, why Socrates? Socrates, my good friend, I have discovered a hive of wisdom. Hermogenes, of what nature? Socrates. Well, rather ridiculous and yet plausible. Hermogenes. How plausible? Wisdom that is rather ridiculous and yet plausible. Hermogenes. How plausible? Socrates. I fancy to myself Heraclitus repeating wise traditions of antiquity, as old as the days of Kronos and Rhea, and of which Homer also speaks. Hermogenes. How do you mean? Socrates. Heraclitus is supposed to say that all things are in motion and nothing at rest. He compares them to the stream of the river, and says that they cannot go into the same river twice, same water twice. Hermogenes. That is true. Socrates. Well then, how can we avoid inferring that he who gave the names of Kronos and Rhea to the ancestors of the gods agreed pretty much in the doctrine of Heraclitus? How can we avoid inferring that he who gave the name to Kronos and Rhea to the ancestors of the gods agreed pretty much with the doctrine of Heraclitus? In the giving of the names of streams to both of them, is the giving of the name of streams to both of them purely accidental? Compare the line in which Homer, and as I believe Hesiod also, tells of, quoting, ocean, the origin of gods, and mother Tethys. Apparently the line is not found in the exact works of Hesiod, footnote. And again, Orpheus says that, quote, the fair river of Ocean was the first to marry, and he espoused his sister Tethys, who was his mother's daughter. You see that this is a remarkable coincidence, and all in the direction of Heraclitus. Hermogenes. I think that there is something in what you say, Socrates, but I do not understand the meaning of the name Tethys. I'm pronouncing her name wrong. Socrates. Well, that is almost self-explained, being only the name of the spring, a little disguised, for that which is strained and filtered, diatomenon, etumenon, may be likened to a spring. And the name Tethys is made up of these two words. Hermogenes. The idea is ingenious, Socrates. Thus far, our scripture of the evening. Honestly, when I bracketed this passage off, I was like, oh my God, there's going to be nothing to say. But there was much that came to my mind, besides all the songs that I were playing in my mind the whole time. That's that song, take my body, and then lonely rivers flow to the sea, to the sea. So a lot of music coming to mind, which is probably one of the first ways we... No, that's just me speculating. I'm being ridiculous, but maybe not completely inappropriately so. That music was one of our most primitive ways of communicating. So let's talk about this passage a little. I brought the book that I was reading today along to complain, but I don't think it will be necessary. I think Socrates' analysis of the words says more about his... Oh, geez. Please. Socrates' analysis of the word says more about his views on humanity Although maybe he's just being completely ironic and it says nothing of that as well. Maybe he's just really having a blast, playing, making fun of the sophists and the rhetoricians. But I'm going to pretend that there's always many a true word spoken in jest. And then let's look at what heroes and humans are. Heroes are the questioners, the rhetoricians, besides those born of love, which is obvious. So Socrates could have easily just stopped with heroes, eros. But he went on to propose that they are questioners. And now, David Bowie is in my mind. First prize for Who Can Guess Which Song. Men, or anthropos, anthropoi, are those who examine, who consider, and who look up. And one is tempted to think of Kant and the night sky and the moral code within us, but at another passage, I'm thinking Republic, I'm not sure, Socrates says that he who thinks that looking up means literally looking up, yes, because someone says astrology in the Republic, is taking it a bit too literal. Looking up has a more symbolic, looking up in a more symbolic sense. What is looking up in a more symbolic sense? To examine, to consider, to look up. Before I started reading this, for some reason I started with a smile because I made a little joke in my mind before I started. And then I accidentally pressed record, so I just went on. But I was quite depressed because of this book. And how hard we are on ourselves. And it comes from this examining, considering, looking up. And that's why those who do it, those who question, are in fact heroes. Because on one hand, the unexamined life is not worth living, but on the other hand, when you overthink things, sometimes you fall into a pit. And I cried today because of this book. I do take my books very emotionally. Because she literally says, and I know, well, no, I know nothing, but I assume she constantly says that she knows her views can be taken as elitist. And that's not, I don't really know what her defense against that is. It doesn't make sense to me. If something doesn't make sense to me, I forget it. It's extremely elitist, extremely elitist. She explicitly says that there are some things worth loving, objects she uses, because at a certain point she mentions people as well. And this whole meaning in life thing, I know we got rid of the meaning of life because, that's just not scientific. It's not, we have to get rid of the gods and higher purpose and all that crap. But meaning in life is, we're not. We're trying to fill the void that the gods left with our own narcissism. That's what we want to do in our search for meaning in life. I'm sorry, that's just the way I see it. By making ourselves valuable. Because if some objects or people, things are not worth loving, it means we risk not being worthy. And then there's a song that I heard yesterday, and I linked it to the playlist. Oh, I'm going to be too long today. I thought I was just going to record and stop because I'm in a terrible mood. But anyway. There was a song I listened to yesterday that states the words. I wrote it down. Where did I write it down? How rare and beautiful it is to even exist. Just to be. And to be fortunate enough to participate in your own becoming. That should be enough. By insisting that people should have a meaning in life, because that would alleviate their depression or all the other symptoms. We're just feeding the fire. It's just more fuel on the fire. People should be allowed to just be and to become. And that is why, if you look at the side notes, like the notes in the margins, I think that's the way you say it. And this book, like, it's all negative and all like saying no, this and this. There's like a couple of times that I write snob, and it takes one to know one. So, and then you look at the myth of Sisyphus and my notes in the margins, and it's all yes, totally agree. Oh, this makes so much sense of this, and so I am 100% sure. No, I'm not 100% sure of anything. I'm 99% sure that I'm inclined to be more of a absurdist than someone who searches for meaning in life. I'm more inclined to think inclined to believe in meaning of life than meaning in life, quite honestly. I think putting the burden of meaning in life on humanity is ridiculous. Okay, so I did have my rant. Let's get back to Socrates. I do find it funny that he laughs at the idea of the nous, the mind, and the all. Because I like the idea of the nous, the mind, the all. It feels very panpsychist to me. But Socrates laughs at it, and maybe it's just because, of course, he didn't have the idea of panpsychism. The body a prison, I wrote it down, but I think the other thing that I questioned as I was reading, I can't remember the exact words, and I know that I don't really know the word anyways. So the body as a type of indicator of steering the soul, rather. Because I think he uses a word which I interpret as something that steers, that give direction to. When I went to Thunder Bay to meet John in person for the first time, I met with Layman Pascal, and he asked me why I came all the way from Amsterdam to Thunder Bay. And I said, because when I saw the announcement of the conference, my heart started beating really fast. So I knew I had to go. I don't really hear voices in my head, even the voice that is not a voice. It's more those things that I pay attention to. I had the same heartbeat when Alex announced his own event, live event, and I went. I only need to meet everyone once in person just to know that they are real. Then I'm satisfied. I'm of course more than happy when they happened to come to Amsterdam, as John and Christopher did for Spinoza. Not for me, but I got to hang out with them, which was lovely. So I think if we can honor our body more. And then that brings me to the gods, because the gods' names here, Usia, Hestia, being, and the rivers, which Socrates claims is in relation with Heraclitus, or ever changing. And then this flowing nature of the gods, this impermanent nature of the gods, and the gods being nature, that which gave us life, like literally gave life to our bodies. Oh, it would be so great if we could just return to that. And of course, putting the goddess first again in our prayers and sacrifices. Well, I've kept you long enough. May life be good to you. May Hestia bless your hearth, earth and home. Same thing. May you be a hero. And may the spirit of Sophia be with you.